And we return with round 4 action here from YETICON 2.0, held November 18th, 2023 in Lakewood, Colorado. Atlantic Rules, Old School Magic the Gathering. On your left side, you're going to see Brandon McGill. Brandon McGill was a Spice Master candidate here at the tournament today, is 2-1. His opponent is Marty Ernie, also 2-1 coming in here. Marty Ernie on a blue-red burn. Brandon McGill's Spice Master deck is a little bit unusual, and definitely a unique story to this deck. I highly encourage you checking out the website and reading the story that goes with this deck. It's based on Consecrate Lands and Armageddon to protect Mishra's Factories, to have them be big threats for him as he comes across. So both players 2-1 here as we come into round 4. Very exciting matchup. And Marty Ernie, I should mention too, was the runner-up from YETICON last year. So he lost in the championship match to Justin Iskra. You saw that right here on this channel. So let's see how this one shakes up with these two great players and these two great decks. Players here getting set for game number 1. Love the Killer Bees playmat there by Marty. Marty putting a card down here, putting 2 cards down, mulligan to 5 on game 1. Unfortunate there, Marty Ernie there. Brandon McGill rocking the new playmat from YETICON 2023. Brandon in turn 1 says, Mox, land, and go. Over to Marty's side. Marty's going to come in with a Factory and a Black Vice. Black Vice on Brandon. Brandon untaps, and he's going to be taking damage here in his upkeep unless, he goes to end step. Never mind. Before we untap, he goes to disenchant the Black Vice. So end step, Black Vice is out of there. Brandon goes on to his turn, taking no damage from that Black Vice. Plays an Underground Sea and says, go ahead. All right, Marty takes a peek. Plays down a Badlands, and will he attack with the Factory, or does he have a 2-mana play to bring out? Taps the Badlands for a Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning on Brandon. No red on Brandon's side, so just 3 damage straight up. And pass the turn. So Marty really looking to race a player down. The blue-red burn package is about aggressive as they come here in Old School. Brandon taps for a Mind Twist. Looks like a Mind Twist for 2. There are 3 cards in Marty's hand, so he gets to keep 1. There goes looks like a Wheel of Fortune and a Psy Blast, I believe is what that was, the first red card. Down comes a City of Brass for Marty, and over comes the Mishra's Factory. So Brandon's at 15 after taking the Chain Lightning and then Mishra's Factory for 2 more. Marty just have a couple cards in hand, and here they come again. He is attacking, but there's a quick Swords on the Factory. Factory is out of the game. Marty's going to gain 2. Brandon says here, just take the extra die. There it is. So a 22 goes Marty. Brandon at 15. All right, untap. Marty's taking a peek. Does he have another play to follow up? It looks like he says no, because Brandon draws a card. There's an Underground Sea. Brandon has plenty of mana. Let's see what he can do with it. I see a Jam Day Tome in his hand, and likely some other interactive pieces. Tapping 4, though, and there is the Tome. So the Jam Day Tome comes down, and if Marty doesn't put more pressure on Brandon here soon, that Tome is going to overpower this game, as a lot of Old School players have seen happen. Now, he does have a Factory, so that is a little bit of pressure on Brandon. Brandon at 15 doesn't have all the time in the world to sit back and take damage. There is I believe, Scrub Land there for Brandon, and a quick Lightning Bolt on the end step. So Brandon down to 12 already, with possibly 2 more coming over on the Mishra's Factory, and that is indeed what happens. Looks like he lights up the Factory. Brandon does have another quick Swords for it, and it looks like he has enough mana to read the book as well. So he had 1 white for the Swords to Plowshares. Marty goes up to 24 now, Brandon at 12. This game going quite quickly. Brandon plays down the Mox Pearl. These videos are also sped up by 25%. That's why it looks like these players are playing so confidently and accurately and quickly. They're sped up a little bit from actual game time. Brandon getting another draw there. So Marty on his side is placed under Badlands and says go. Brandon gets a draw on his end step. And this is what I was talking about, where if you let those books hang around and you don't put the pressure on, you can get behind a little bit. Here's a Psy Blast starting Brandon. It's going to put Brandon down to 8. So Brandon's just a couple Psy Blasts away from losing this first game. Marty's stacking up the life here. He's at 23. Here comes another Psy Blast. Brandon's going to read in response, and does he? So yeah, he does have enough, and it looks like he pump fakes a counterspell. There is a counterspell in his hand, and they're talking about, they're talking about life damage and counters. So if it's countered, that does not do any of the damage to the player. It doesn't do any damage, but they did City of Brass damage, it looks like. And then the Psy Blast was counters. Brandon did not go down to 4. And he may have misdone the life on the previous Psy Blast, but this one should have been countered. So here comes an Armageddon. Brandon does not have any Consecrate lands out for his lands in this case. So he does Armageddon, though, just to clear things out, and then does play his own factory. So now he has a path to work through. And Marty, looking like, does not have a land drop on the backside. Brandon plays down the library, so Armageddon's good to play before the library and the factory. He does get enough mana here to draw from the book, so that's where you see the tap of the book. That's a little shortcut. It takes 4 mana to activate the book, so tap the book, draw, and then go to untap. Brandon getting another card. So Brandon has drawn a lot of extra cards in this game from the book and the library. There's a Tundra and a Disenchant on the Mox Jet, so Marty's only mana source. We are just going to keep that clear. So if Brandon can keep drawing extra cards and blasting away any defenses that Marty has, then he's looking in better shape for this game. Marty at 18 now. Brandon's at 8. Still drawing lots of cards from the book. There's another one from the library. Brandon taking a peek to see. He's got one factory that is not summoning sick. If he drops another one, he could start pumping it, but he drops looks like a Scrubland. And there is an activation and an attack of the factory. So down to 16 goes Marty, and Brandon passes the turn. Marty will take his draw, and it looks like he says draw, go. So Marty is just building up without a mana source. He can't play anything out. Brandon's getting more card advantage, and the engine continues to turn. Brandon plays out a Jet, so more mana for him. And at this point, he has to play something out or he's going to discard to hand size. So he has to keep playing things out as he's drawing these extra cards. So Brandon, I'm sure, happy to have that problem. Here comes a copy artifact coming in. And it looks like it's a copy of the factory. So Brandon activated the factory right there, it looks like, and then cast the copy artifact. Copy artifact comes in as a copy of the factory. So now he has the factory as it is. Perfect. It comes in just as one of those. So now he has 2 factories there. There's a Soul Ring with the Chili Pepper Award. That was last year's. That was an award from Las Vegas, I believe. The Chili Pepper Award that Brandon has. It's very cool. And so that will help those book activations. Now Brandon's attacking for 4 each turn, and Marty's still stuck on mana here. So Brandon's starting to really close the circle around Marty at this point, building up a huge board advantage and card advantage. Marty not quite discarding to hand size yet, but there's a Consecrate land. There it is on that factory. So that factory has Indestructible at this point. So swords will still take care of it, but your regular destruction spells for lands and for artifacts, of course. Brandon describing that card has Indestructible. So Shatter will no longer take that out once it's active. So there's a tap of the Soul Ring, and there's both factories coming across, the copied one and the vanilla one. Here's a City of Brass. Marty taps City of Brass, taking a damage for blue. So Marty should be going from 5 to 4. Brandon is going to draw in response. We still have an Ancestral Recall on the stack, and Brandon says, yep, go ahead. And the damage you just saw Marty take there is the city damage from casting the spell. Marty does get to draw the 3 cards, and Marty says, that's it. I didn't get the answer I needed. Let's scoop them up. So the control package of Brandon's deck with the Armageddon is able to overcome Marty's plan. We're going to go to game number 2. Brandon up a game here. So let's see if the red-blue burn can bring some answers in for that or put enough pressure on Brandon to stop that grind for next game. I'm excited to see what's going to go on, and I hope you are too. Marty on your right side is going to be on the play for game 2, and he says library and let's go. So let's see what he can generate in card advantage from that package. Both players early stages of game 2 here. Excited to see who is going to seize this one, if Brandon will take control or if Marty will be able to burn him out. Brandon starts with a Mox Jet and the Soul Ring. That's that Chili Pepper Soul Ring we saw in Game 1. And there is the Scrubland. Brandon puts down the hand and says, say go. Marty's getting ready to untap and take a look at what he has. I don't believe the library is active just yet. Marty playing it down there on the play. So now it is active. So he was at 6, goes up to 7, and draws up to 8. So Marty with 8 cards in hand right now. No land drop just yet. The blue-red burn package also rocking forks in this matchup. So Marty can he can copy his own instance. He could also copy a demonic tutor or something that might come out of Brandon's hand. That'd be kind of cool if that would happen. So Marty taking a bit of a think here to see what he wants to do with his 8 cards. You obviously want to stay on library as much as you can, especially if you're playing against another control-ish player. You don't want to lose that card advantage. Keeping pressure on is always good. And Marty is wondering if he has another play. He hasn't played a land yet this turn, so he could play a land to get down to 7. If he doesn't have a land to play, then he'll have to discard down to hand size. Players having a bit of a think or a bit of a talk here. Marty looking for the right line, wondering probably what was going on with the Consecrate land that he saw. There is a ruby. So that's easy to think about. Remember, there was an Armageddon and Consecrate land that he saw in the last game. So I'm wondering if he's thinking about which lands should I commit to the board and how much should I commit to the board, especially with the Soul Ring. There's a Disenchant on the Ruby because Brandon could have an Armageddon just right here. He could have just gone Armageddon. That would have knocked out those lands. So I'm wondering if Marty was thinking about whether or not to play the Factory with Armageddon mana up. And Brandon seeing a live Factory that'd be a juicy target even as a 1-for-1 on an Armageddon. And Marty probably not wanting to play into that too much here, but decided to play the Factory. Now he plays a Badlands into a Soul Ring. He's going to tap the Soul Ring to activate the Factory and swing in. So Brandon's going to go down to 17. Brandon's going to tap 4 mana, and there it is. That is the card that likely Marty was thinking about what to do before. He was wondering if that's what we should play into, and indeed there it was. So he lost a Badlands, the Factory, and the Library to the Armageddon, and Brandon follows it up with his own Factory. So Brandon's starting to put the control package together again here, blowing up the lands with Armageddon. Marty did sneak out a Soul Ring before the Armageddon, so that is going to help him. He's got another blue Mox as well, so that can help with Psyblast mana if he wants to start putting that kind of pressure on Brandon. Brandon is going to, looks like, activate an attack, and there is a Psyblast on the Factory, so Marty's going to take 2, and the Factory is going to go away without the protection of the Consecrate land. And Brandon says, pass the turn. Here comes Marty, taps a Soul Ring for, double Black Vice. Double Vice, and he says, go ahead. Brandon looks like is out of Vice range. I think he was at 4, just drew up to 5 there by my count on the video. Brandon's going to have to keep playing cards out, though, now. And everyone's going to have to be aware of any draw 7s that might come up, Time Twisters or Wheels and the like. We know that Marty does have a wheel. We did see that in the last game. And on blue as well, he may have a Time Twister. Brandon just has access to black and white right now. Brandon taps the Soul Ring for a Chaos Orb. And Brandon wondering if he should use the Chaos Orb during his turn on a mana piece from Marty, or if he should wait for another threat. He is going to tap a black. He will activate the orb now on his turn on the Soul Ring. So here comes the flip. And the flip is a bounce and a miss. Unfortunate. Tough bounce there for Brandon. The Chaos Orb caught a corner and bounced off the Soul Ring. That's part of the breaks in Old School. Anyway, Marty's moving on here. He plays down a Badlands. He's building his board state back up, and Brandon's going to untap. Still not much of a defense for the factory on Brandon's side, but Brandon probably cautious of a lightning bolt. He'd like to have that Consecrate land, and it's actually kind of cool. The Consecrate land, if the target is not activated yet, the Consecrate land will hit the land before you could target it with a Disenchant or a Lightning Bolt, because those can't target just a land. They have to target the creature or the artifact. So you'd have to have an instant speed interaction with a land to stop a Consecrate land from sticking. So pretty cool if you can get that plan to work. Underground Sea on Marty's side. And let's see what his plans are going forward. He's going to pass the turn back to Brandon. Right now, neither player getting too aggressive. Both players happy to build up their board state and see what the other one's doing. Brandon has some defensive cards. I see he has a Disenchant there in the front of the hand. Might even 2 Disenchants maybe to my glance there. Marty playing another Mana Source. That's a City of Brass. He's going to tap 4 mana. And there is a Mountain Yeti. Very cool. And that all the signing you see on that one means that Mountain Yeti was from last year's event, where that was the 2022 door prize card. So a Mountain Yeti, it is a 3/3 Mountain Walker. Protection from white. So very cool. Marty does go down to 15. Had to take a damage from City of Brass because the double red casting cost of the Mountain Yeti. Red 2. Brandon, I like the probably the congratulations on rocking the Mountain Yeti. Blood Moon will turn the Yeti on. Blood Moon will really get things going. Blood Moon would actually be pretty brutal for Brandon's side. Consecrate land would still consecrate the land, but you wouldn't have access to all the other fun tricks you could do with the land. So I don't know if Marty has one or if he's rocking them here in this sideboarded game. Brandon taking a think about what he wants to do. Now, Brandon does have Disenchants in hand, so if Blood Moon went on the stack, Brandon could tap for the white mana he needed, let the Blood Moon resolve, and then disenchant it immediately. And that might be what is going through Brandon's head right now. Obviously not presuming anything. Here comes 3 damage across. Brandon's going to go to 13. Yeah, the 3/3 body of the Mountain Yeti is no joke. It's nothing to laugh at. And I know Marty likes to play this one because of our event here. That's the namesake card of the Rocky Mountain Yetis, the club who puts this event on, who works with this event. Jared Miller, the real king of the event. Here comes a copy artifact entering the battlefield as a copy of it. Looks like the Black Vice, and there's a Disenchant and a flash counter. Boom, flash counter from Marty. And he does take a damage to cast that. So the copy artifact does come in, and I believe it is a copy of the Black Vice. So maybe Marty does have an effect to turn those on, because the draw 7 now would be really, really a problem. Brandon tapping 3, 6 for Mirror Universe. Mirror Universe, an excellent card, and that's part of the story of Brandon's deck. But the Mirror Universe, right now it's 13 to 14, but Marty will want to be careful about how he manages his damage now if he doesn't have a removal for the Mirror Universe right now. Brandon says, fine, I'll go down to 10. And Marty does pass, so Brandon has to activate the Mirror Universe during his upkeep. Mirror Universe swaps the life totals of the players. But you have to activate it during your upkeep. So if you don't do it once it untaps, and there's the battlefield tap, if you don't do it once it untaps, you have to survive for a whole nother turn cycle before you have a chance to do it again. So if he feels like he's ever down in burn range, he has to activate it there to protect himself from burn range. Right now he's at 10. And here he goes. He's going to tap for 2. And Brandon does still have to keep playing things out. Copy Artifact, and Copy Artifact comes in as a copy of Mirror Universe. So you can see it enters the battlefield tapped. So he sets it on top of the universe, so we know that's where it is. So it is a tapped artifact. So one Mirror Universe is untapped. And Brandon could activate that in his upkeep, and then he could do it again if he wanted to. Now it looks like on Justin's turn, he plays out a Jammed a Tome and declines to attack. So he probably not wanting to put Brandon too low on life because Brandon could just swap life totals in the upkeep. So guessing that he might wait until he has like Yeti Attack, Lightning Bolt, Psy Blast for Brandon. That would do it. That would do it. So that might be his plan, rather than put Brandon on 7 and make Brandon's choice really easy to go ahead and swap life totals. He might be waiting until he has enough to finish the job in one turn. So Marty, as the burn player, has that in mind. Marty says, go ahead. So Brandon's next action, Marty might be drawing from the book. And that book can help him get to that kind of finish that is his goal. If he wants to do 10 damage in a turn, if you're on a blue-red burn package, he's going to start tapping some mana here. Yep, there's 4 mana to read the book, to draw a card, and of Brandon's turn. And now he will untap on his turn, draw his card. And there is a Pearl. So more mana for Marty. Marty building it up. He has enough mana if he has the Bolt and the Psy Blast to take care of things. Now Brandon also does have the factory, and I don't believe Brandon has a mountain for Mountain Walk. He has blue, white, and black duels. There's a Disenchant, likely targeting the book. Yep, so he's gonna take a damage to read the book in response. Okay, so Marty goes to 13. So it's not a bad idea to keep your life total close to your opponents when they have a Mirror Universe on. So the taking a damage from the City of Brass is fine there, actually. And you can even mana burn yourself, or you could tap your own City of Brass and mana burn yourself with your other lands to get yourself lower than your opponent. If you wanted to, that would kind of help turn off the danger of the Mirror Universe. Then, of course, you're putting yourself in other kinds of danger. Here's a sack of the Lotus for red. It looks like it's Bolt and Fork. You have to hold priority with the Bolt. So now it's priority Brandon. Fork is red, and it just creates a copy of an instant or sorcery spell that's on the stack. But you have to hold priority. So you have to say Lightning Bolt, hold priority, and fork it, and then pass to Brandon. And Brandon's going to counter, and I believe he's going to counter the Lightning Bolt, which should put a stop to both of them, because Fork's target is going to be gone, and Fork hasn't resolved yet, and I believe that's what they're talking about right there. Oh, Brandon does take 3 from the Bolt. Okay, Brandon does take 3. Fork leads to a bunch of funky interactions, though, and you have to be a little bit careful with Fork. But it's always cool to see. So here we are going to attack with the Yeti. That's going to put Brandon down to 4. Now, if he has the Psy Blast in hand, here's a Chain Lightning targeting Brandon. That's going to put him down to 1. And there's another Chain Lightning. Brandon's going to activate his factory, pump it, and he's going to try to swords it. And here comes a Time Twister. I'm not sure what. Yeah, okay, so a time twister. So he lets that resolve. So Brandon took the damage of the Chain Lightning, and then he, in response to the second lightning bolt there, or the Chain Lightning, he swords to Plowshares his own factory. So you activate it, you pump it to 3, and swords it, so it counteracts the damage. You gain 3 before you lose the 3. It looks like we're time twistering here. And now, how much mana does he have up? I see 2 Underground Seas and a Mox Pearl, maybe. It looks like underneath that City of Brass. So if he has one more spell that he could cast, a Psy Blast will do it. I don't know if I see red untapped on his side. That Mirror Universe is just waiting to do that. There is a... there was a library. Okay, yeah, so there is the... All right, there's the Ruby, and then the Volcanic Island tapping for a fireball, and that will finish out game number 2. Okay, so Marty was able to pull the bigger burn spell out there and have the red source to play. Almost played 2 lands, but saw that dropped the wrong land out of his hand. Happens all the time. So that was an exciting finish to that one. With we had a forked lightning bolt, we had a counter spell on the fork part of that lightning bolt. And then we have the Time Twister, which does get to the burn, so no bricking on the Time Twister on this one. So these players are tied 1-1 here, going on to game number 3. Brandon will take the play for this one, and we'll see how we do in the rubber game. And to the deciding game we go in this exciting round 4 matchup. Both players at 2-1 here coming in, and right now tied at 1 game apiece in the 4th round as the sun starts to set here in Lakewood, Colorado. Brandon says Underground Sea and go. Over on the side of Marty, he has Mox Land and Black Vice. There's an Ancestral Recall for Brandon. It looks like it is at the end step, but there is a Red Blast right there, and the Red Blast will take out the Ancestral Recall, so I believe that puts Brandon down off of Vice damage. So Ancestral Recall with the Vice down, not a bad play, especially when you're still at 20. You take some extra damage, but seeing those extra cards can help you explode out a little bit better onto the battlefield if you have a deck like that especially. So Brandon plays a Tundra and takes a look to see if he can still play something out to stay off of Vice damage. He's going to tap 2 and take a Time Walk. So Time Walk, he's going to untap, must be off of Vice damage, or he's got 1 damage from the Vice. There goes to 19 from before, so he's looking at his hand. I think I see, 4 cards there in hand. There's a Pearl down. I believe there's a Time Twister in hand. There's a Chaos Orb. And here he is. He's going to flip on the Black Vice. Here it comes. Brandon lifts up, takes a flip, and that one is a hit. Boom, right there. Black Vice is down. So next turn, if that is a Time Twister in hand, then he can twist away. All right, here is on Marty's turn, a Chain Lightning. Down to 16 goes Brandon. Brandon will untap. I believe Library of Alexandria. Tapping 3. And let's go ahead and do the twist. In response, we have a Psy Blast targeting Brandon, so he's going to go from 16 down to 12. And we're going to get 7 new ones. Now, Brandon will have 7 cards, and then he'll get to use the library after this. Now, I think the library was just played this turn, so that was his land drop for this turn. Setting the Time Twister aside in a new graveyard. One of the coolest things about the original printed text on that one, in a new graveyard. It's a cool zone in Magic, the new graveyard zone. So now they're going to take a look at 7 cards each. Marty is tapped out, so no end-step shenanigans here. Brandon can, if he has a piece of power, he can make another play here. He also can draw a card before he plays something out because he'll have 7 right now. So he's taking a look, and he decides not to play anything out just yet. He's going to save the library activation for a little bit later. So there is Marty with his own library. So we've got Library v. Library, plays it down. Taps. Brandon's going to tap. They're going to, in response, they're going to library on top of libraries on the stack. Marty's going to tap 2. Oh, pump fake. Marty's going to tap 2. And there's the Chaos Orb. Maybe try to target the opposing library so that you can indeed get the advantage you need. He's going to, oh, pump fake. Oh, we're backing it up. So Marty backs up on the Chaos Orb casting. Now here's a Soul Ring, and then there's a Chaos Orb. Okay. With 1 mana floating, and then now he'll use that mana. So we're just changing how he tapped his mana. Old school, a very nice format about letting players fix things up, fix the game state to where they kind of wanted it to be. And so the flip does hit on Brandon's library. Brandon with a cool white-out bordered Library of Alexandria that he's rocking in this one. Marty with the old black bordered Library of Alexandria. Classic. Here goes Marty. He's going to take a damage, and there's a Lotus, and he's going to play out Ancestral. So he'll take 3 cards from the Ancestral. And Marty right now really looking to explode onto the board and likely into Brandon's life total with his burn package. Brandon with 3 mana sources. Now, there's no Black Vice down anymore for Marty. That would be really doing a lot of damage here for Brandon. Brandon plays out a Ruby. I see a Swords in his hand, but there's no action for that Swords right now on Brandon's side. He's going to tap 2. And even a Disenchant on Brandon's side is not the very best thing in the world. It doesn't have the greatest, juiciest targets, even for a Disenchant. And that's what I'm sure he's thinking about. The Soul Ring, the Lotus would be good to Disenchant on the turn. Soul Ring is another nice returning source of damage. And here's a Time Walk for Brandon. And the Time Walk is going to be Red Blasted, so no Time Walk. That's Red Blast used to counter that blue one. I'm sure Brandon had a good think about what to do with the Disenchant there, how to best use that. Here is Marty, though, taking an untap, another draw. And Chain Lightning targeting Brandon, so Brandon's going to go to 9. So that's 3 burn spells away. Even the Psy Blast, so we're still 3 cards away, 3 draws away from that with just an all-out burn package. There's a Volcanic Island. Marty counting up his mana. Maybe he's sitting on a Fireball. Kept his finger on the Sapphire, looking at doing some math. Here comes the Lotus, and there's a couple more, and there is a big Fireball. So the Lotus powered that out, and Fireball's Brandon down to 3. Now Brandon is within burn range, 1 card burn range. I think that's what Marty was thinking there. And Brandon disenchanting that Soul Ring, good call on that. That would have been an even bigger Fireball on that side. Brandon plays down a Mox, looking to see what he can do to finish things up here and put some pressure back on Marty. There's an Armageddon. Armageddon will be a good start. Right now, Marty only has a blue and a green source, so without a red source, he can't Bolt, and without 1 more mana source, he can't Psy Blast. There was a red source, there was a Bolt, there was the Chain Lightning, and there's a blue blast for it, though. Brandon lives to untap another day. We're down to crunch time here, but finding that red source was huge for Marty there to play that down right now. Here comes a Soul Ring on Brandon's side. I can't tell if he has another blue blast in hand. There's that Swords. Might be another Armageddon in hand. Yeah, it is another Armageddon in hand. And he is going to cast Armageddon right there because there was that red source. Marty rips another red source, and that's it. Brandon's going to pack that in. So, wow, 2 red source rips. I believe that Badlands was ripped off the top. Definitely looked like that Ruby was off the top. Brandon, with a valiant Armageddon to keep that off, just could not keep the red mana at bay any longer. So Marty's going to take it in game number 3 here of round 4. Exciting matchup, gents. Congratulations on the game here in round 4. For YETICON 2.0, we do have 1 more regular round here, round 5, coming up next video. And then, of course, we have the top 4 playoffs and the finals. So we still have lots of exciting action here. If you've been liking these videos, leave me a comment about the action. Drop a sub here to the channel. Not that I post a lot of Magic content, but we'll keep things going here for YETICON 2.0 anyway. And I will see you in round 5.